Today, we're going to take a look at the quick process of making a new screen for your windows, going from this to this. Let's dive in. To do this, we're starting with a window screen build kit, which you can get from either Amazon or big box stores. It comes with 4 frame rails, 4 angle connectors, 2 pull tabs, 2 tension springs, and 4 pieces of spline to fit the rails. Before we get to building with these materials, we first need to measure our window. Measure the width of the window from side to side, and then top to bottom, making sure to take into account for the depth of the lip at the top, as the screen will be sitting inside of that lip. Now, don't make the same mistake a lot of us make the first time. Measure your angle connector pieces. These ones are 3/4 of an inch, and we need to take those into account when we do our measurements. For our window, we need a window screen that fits 29 3/4 inches wide by 26.5 inches tall. With our angle connectors being 3/4 of an inch, we need to multiply that by 2 since there is 1 on each side, and we come up with 1.5 inches. Simply subtract 1.5 inches from each measurement, giving us 28.25 inches wide by 25 inches tall. Now that we know the numbers we're working with, go ahead and mark out your frame rails, marking 2 of them for your wide height and 2 for your tall height. Next up is cutting the frame rails, which is always a bit of a pain. If you don't have a metal cutting saw, which makes it exponentially easier, you can use a hacksaw to cut through them as well. One recommendation I have is to either clamp or tape your 2 rails together so it's easier to cut both of them at once. If you're using a hacksaw, put painter's tape around the rail for where you will be cutting it, as that will give you a cleaner cut. Putting tape around the edge of anything that you cut typically leads to less tear out or chipping, so it can be used for things besides just cutting these rails. With everything cut to size, it's assembly time. Start off with sliding the 2 tension clips into the end of the top frame rail, as these go up into that lip at the top of your window to hold the screen securely. After that, go ahead and start connecting the 4 corners, just sliding the rail over the 4 corner connectors. Finish off the pre-assembly with the pull tabs at the bottom of the frame, if you wish to use them, that is. Personally, I've always broken them every single time I've gone to pull a screen out, and actually took them out after the video was finished, but put them in for demonstration purposes. As for the screen to use, that's entirely up to you. You can use the same basic and cheap screen I'm using here, or get some metal reinforced screen for pets, or even some solar screens that help with reducing the amount of heat that's transmitted through your windows. When it comes to putting these splines in, it's the most tedious and annoying part of building a window screen. Lay your screen material over your frame and try to align two edges with the frame so you don't have to cut them. Once that's done, put your first spline in and cut it to length for the frame and press it in gently with your fingers. After it's staying enough that it's not just going to fall out on you, use your spline pushing tool to embed it into the frame. Ideally, you want to do this on a hard surface and not on a bed like I am, but I didn't want to be working and crawling on the floor while recording the video, so bear with me here. Continue to work your way around the frame and do your best to keep the screen tight during the process by applying a little bit of tension to the screen when you're working on the opposite sides. If you pull too hard, you will inevitably pull the splines out, so do be careful. The thing that I mentioned about the pull tabs earlier, this is where I recommend leaving them out as it makes pushing the spline in notably more difficult as well. Apparently I was working a little off screen here, my apologies there. Framing is apparently a bit difficult at times. If you run into the same issue that I have with the spline not wanting to stay in at the ends, you can gently crimp your frame rail with a pair of pliers or something similar to pinch the spline a bit better. Sometimes the frame rails are a bit damaged from the store and the little groove that the spline goes into gets a bit deformed, causing it to not sit well initially until you really press the spline in. I didn't want to speed up any of this footage just so you can see the true time it takes to make one of these screens so you can properly allocate your time when you go to make one. When it comes to the excess screen at the end, you can use the built-in razor blade in the spline tool, though I've always had a hard time with those. I instead prefer to just use an X-Acto knife and just run the tip of the blade right along the inside edge of the spline groove, as I feel it's easier to do and gets a clean cut. And that's it, a quick and simple process of going from just a few basic materials to a brand new window screen for around $20, saving you a hefty chunk of money if you need multiple screens, as most screen companies do charge about a minimum of $100 per window. As always, if you like the content I'm putting out, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all new content as it comes out. Thanks so much for watching, take care. And before we close out the video, just a quick shout out to our channel members, Dobby Lapuz, Sebastian YT,